Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to RVCCIS.Info, the channel where faculty representatives from Rock Valley College's Computers and Information Systems Department talk to you, our students or the community at large, about things vaguely having to do with computers and information systems. Today, what we're going to do is continue on with our series on finding work in a pandemic. And what we're going to focus on today is the resume writing, portion of that whole arc for finding, securing a job. So we are going to kind of help walk you through what we're going to kind of chunk out, I guess, is 3 different stages of your resume writing so that you can spend your time most wisely, make the best resume possible, so that you have the best shot of actually landing an interview, which, by the way, is our very next video after this. Oh, because we've forgotten to do introductions now for the 2nd episode in a row. Hi there, everybody. I'm Eric Wolf, and right here is Stephanie Washer, not joining us today, but also faculty representatives from RVC's CIS department are Jim Conley and Chuck Conkle. So now that we've remembered to do that, I'm not going to edit it in the right order. Why don't we talk about preparing to write our resume? So what should we do to prepare to write?
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to have all of the names and addresses of all of the places that you've worked, your employment history. So your dates of employment and the name of addresses of the companies. And you might not have to have the exact addresses, just town and state, right?
Right. So you don't need the postal address. You really just need the city and the state. When it comes to dates, you also don't need, like 29 September 2020. All you really need is September 2020. The month and the year is plenty. The day is a little bit of overkill. You probably don't have the space on the resume to be able to give it that kind of detail. Nope, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say, the job description. So you want I kept my old job descriptions to help me write my resume. So I have them from like a long time ago. So you want to make sure that you have what you did, and you want it to be, because I am not very good at saying what duties I could do. And if you did a managerial job, you need to say you did a managerial job, not something lesser. So I had a tendency just to say, oh, I did this, this, and this. And then I had my friend look at it one day and she said, Stephanie, you did a little bit higher level stuff than this.
Right. So I always, the smartest thing I've ever heard about resumes is that they go backwards from how we're supposed to talk about ourselves. So if you were to introduce yourself to somebody and just start saying like, hi there, I'm the very best at what I do, and they would be like, you're a jackass, right? But on a resume, you're not supposed to go the other way. Hi there, this is what I've done. You're really supposed to highlight yourself there. And people tend to shrink away from wanting to do that because in every other facet of, polite society, you're not supposed to do what a resume does, and that's brag about you and your experience. So what should go in the description? Should we really be talking about our job duties, or should we be talking about, stories, individual things that you might not have done every day on the job, but certainly help set you apart from everybody else who's ever had that particular job?
Yeah.
So here, this is a thought exercise that Stephanie and I are about to do that I just came up with. So what would you say our job duties are as instructors?
Oh, well, develop curriculum.
Develop curriculum. Okay.
And lessons. And so that would include all of that. I mean, I guess you would say more so than curriculum, right? Because that's not total.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see.
Grade stuff. I, but
Yeah,
really, if you think
yeah,
about like every time I get a resume from somebody, you're telling me like the mundane, like minutia um, of what that job was. So if we were to talk about our mundane minutia, we our resumes would probably look really different from how they look now because what do? We take attendance, we babysit adults for 60 to 240 minutes at a time. We post grades and we hold office hours. That is most of what we do on a daily basis. And that's not what shows up on your resume, though. I always get these
yeah.
resumes where they're like, I had a job at, and I'm not trying to diminish the quality of any job, but what you end up doing is complaining about the little weird job duties you have. I had to sweep the floors, I had to open and close, I had to lock the cash register. No kidding. Everybody else who's ever had that job has done the same thing. But
You know,
what? Yeah,
yeah, that's what because I had somebody, and maybe we looked at the same resume, and they kept saying something about the cash register, and I'm like, maybe you want to say you handled the money and say it in
right.
a different, better way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, don't the job description is handy. I've actually done the same thing. I have job descriptions for most of my previous, even like adjunct faculty descriptions, but those aren't really the things that are going to get you hired. It's the things that go where you can tell a story about why it is that you're a good fit for the company that wants to hire you. So if you can look at the job posting, and if you can look at that job posting and say these are the critical things that they're looking for, just come up with one, two, three, maybe four things that they're looking for. And then what you should be doing is retooling the resume so that it goes through and highlights parts of your experience that hit the one, two, three, and four topmost things that the other company is looking for. So I always say this for the Rock Valley um, job, the one I'm sitting at right now, in my dungeon basement, is you guys used hybrid learning. And that that was a term, I'm from Wisconsin, you guys are Illinois, we're Illinois. And here in Wisconsin, we just did not use hybrid. It was always blended, 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 never, never, never hybrid. So to make damn sure that my resume and the job description lined up, I went through and changed every reference for blended instruction to hybrid instruction. And that's just one of the little things that you have to do if you want your resume to really speak to the employer that you're applying for.
Mhm. Yep.
So what do we think? Can we just send one generic resume to all of the companies we're applying for?
No.
No.
No, tailor it to the company.
Hmm.
And you might take out, depending on how many things you have listed for each job, how many items that you did, you might take some and move some around. I have like a big job description that has, or a big resume that has everything, and then I can tweak it to whatever job I'm applying for. I haven't done that in a while, so we'll see. Mine's probably pretty old.
Well, that's one of the things you always see this on resume building sites. We'll again link down below to RVCCIS.org and some of the other links we've referred to here. But the and again, I think this came from Lifehacker because this feels to me like a Lifehacker suggestion. Is every time there's a daylight savings time, so twice a year, this is legitimately what I do. I clean up my gutters first thing in the morning because I hate doing that and I know it's going to need it. um, I replace all the batteries in the smoke detectors in the house, and then I redo my resume, or at least update it, because that way your resume is only ever maybe as old as 6 months old. And that way, if tomorrow morning there's like this, your fantasy job has finally come up, right? And you're like, holy cats, I can apply to it. but now I have 9 hours of resume writing to do. Instead, you can go back to that resume that hopefully you've updated with new stuff, and you can just change a few things and send it right away. So I'm coming up on a new resume to write in October here, I think, soon, in a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, I was about to say maybe I should start that, and then I'm like, no, I got way too much work to do.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know when on that day I'm going to squeeze it in, but
Yeah, but
right.
since you update yours regularly, it shouldn't take you that long.
No, I might have skipped April. I
Oh
know.
yeah, April was a little stressful.
Good Lord. So, um, let's see. Should we only talk about technical skills on our resume?
You probably want to do both. You want to do both technical and soft skills, because
Right.
I'm telling you, our employers say all the time that they need people with good soft skills.
Mm-hmm. I
Or
would
at
even
least,
go the other way, is to say, despite the fact that we are in a technical field, the first things our employers talk about is the soft skills,
Mhm.
because chances are they're going to have to train you in the technical specifics of whatever their shop does. But it's very, very hard to train you if you don't have interpersonal skills. It's very, very hard to train you if you don't have problem solving or time management or any of those other kinds of soft skills that really should reflect on your resume.
Yeah, and make it. I mean, I feel like resumes are boring, but if you can make it at least sound somewhat interesting, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, that would be helpful. It's got to be interesting to the person or the place you're applying for, where they
Right.
go, oh, and you have these skills that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your resume is like a story. That's what the again, the piece of advice I thought was accurate is it's telling your potential future employer a little bit about you before they have an opportunity to get you in there for an interview. Join us next time for the interview. So, you want to make that story in as short time period as possible, as, accurate and entertaining as possible. Entertaining might not be the right word. It's not a comic book or anything, but certainly it should be like, wow, that's a skill we could use.
Yeah, it has to be good enough that it's going to pop out in the and when you look through them, because when people are looking at resumes, they don't spend very much time on them. So it has to be things that are going to pop out and look similar, like Eric said, to the job description for the job you're applying for. So when somebody's going through it, they're like, oh, and it's not
Mhm.
necessarily like interesting, but it's interesting based on the job description.
Right. And maybe even more closely, I'm not sure, uh, related to that is, very, very probably the first entity that's going to look at your resume is not a human being. The chances of you, walking into a storefront someplace and handing somebody a resume, like that, that's probably not right. You can go meet Archie and the gang down at the levee afterwards. That's bull crap. Those days are done. You are doing it online. So that means that the first entity that's going to look at your resume is really an algorithm. The thing that helps with the algorithm is a 100% match for the skills that the employer is looking for and the keywords in your resume. So, just like Stephanie said, make sure that you have what they're looking for. Make sure that you have what they're looking for in the language that they're looking for, because that really helps with those algorithmic searches that, Indeed or Monster or Simply Hired or any of those other placement services are going to look for.
Do we talk about the
Should go ahead.
no, go ahead, you go for it.
Should we include, or which should go first, education or employment experience?
Ooh. For teaching, I always put education first because
Right.
that seems to be what the most important is. It depends upon the job, I guess. If you don't have very much experience, then your education probably is going to go first.
Yep.
And then, if you have a lot of experience in what they're asking for, then that would go first.
Yep, absolutely. Whichever you've got the most of, put that one up top.
Hmm.
Is it okay to put um, a certificate or a degree that you do not yet have on a resume?
Yeah.
Yep. Is it okay
I,
to put a resume or certificate or a degree or certificate on my resume that I will probably never complete?
mm.
No. This is a true story. I had somebody who said, and this was back in 2006 or 7, I want to say, their expected completion date was 2014. I'm like,
Mm.
are you going away on a sea voyage? Is there a reason why 7 years from now you think you might complete? Maybe. I mean, it's very honest, I suppose, but that's too damn far out
Yeah.
there in the future. 2 years is about the cutoff date where employers are willing to accept a degree or certificate not yet completed.
Mhm.
But if you started it and if you are in good faith still pursuing it, 2 years you can put that on there. Um, let's see. What ooh, hmm. What do you think about using like Notepad or text edit or something like that?
Don't do it.
Yeah,
Use
that's
a
just a
use a
waste.
template. There's plenty
Hmm.
of good templates out there. Even the crappy word templates are better
Yeah, I can't
than
believe I'm saying this, but Word here is your friend. There's literally 100 of them that come with the stock install of Word. You have access to thousands of them through Word Online. If you don't want to go through, Live Career, if you don't want to go through, the resume builder on Simply Hired, if you don't want to go through the Indeed resume builder, that's fine. But do not build yours from the ground up by yourself because there is one word to describe how those are going to look, and that's shitty.
Mhm.
There's no way somebody's going to take a look at that and go like, "You're a self-starter. Come with us." Like, no,
Yeah. Mm.
it's not going to look right.
No, they'll judge you based on your they're judging
Yeah, it's
you.
looksist.
Yes.
Ah.
Yeah.
Weird
Uh,
but true. So absolutely positively do use a um
and I would use
template.
a newer word template. Some of those older word templates just they do look very dated because
Hmm.
people have used them for so long.
Right. And just keep it simple. You don't have to go super duper frilly. Um, even if let's say you're in a creative field, even they're not looking for a crazy resume. They just want to read, like Stephanie said, they're giving it just a couple of moments. They just want to look for their own keywords, confirm whether or not you have them, and move you on to the next pile of maybe give them a call, don't give them a call. That is all.
Yeah, and it's amazing how quick people go through it. I mean, I think when I was on a couple hiring committees this summer, I was just checking, okay, they have this, and this. And then I didn't even look at the name. I was just looking at
Hmm.
their qualifications, and then you'd have two piles.
Yep. Yep. Don't worry about your name. Speaking of name, I cannot tell you how many students I've had, tell me that they're worried about whatever their name might be. So they'll shorten it to Chuck or something so that it's ambiguous.
Yeah.
Just to hell with whoever the reader is that goes, I'm not going to give you an opportunity based on, the perceived ethnicity of your name. Fuck them. They
Yeah.
probably were not going to be really great to work for anyway. YouTube can censor me on that one. But you're not going to want to work for them anyway. If that's what that
Yeah.
reality at that workforce is going to be like, find a better job someplace else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
They probably wouldn't be friendly to work for anyway.
no,
So,
no. Um, do you include your address? This is one that everybody still
oh,
does.
I do, but I saw somebody that did not include their address. They included their name, phone number, and email at the top. I was very appreciative of that. The
Hmm.
I think they did include, nope, on the application they had their address because that's what
Yep. Where you
that's
have to include it, you can or should rather. But on the resume, it can only be used negatively because again, people are like, uh,
Yeah,
area
you don't live in
codist,
the state.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will say that Rock Valley, one of the questions they rightfully asked when I interviewed with them was, why would you want to travel 90 miles to come here? And every winter I ask myself that same question. But they should have been curious about that, right? Because why would somebody who's in the right mind travel that far? So, that's something you might have to address um, on there. For the most part, you can leave your address off the resume because it can only be used against you, almost never used for you. What about, so you should absolutely include your phone number. You should absolutely include an email address.
Appropriate email address.
That's the good one. I actually legitimately used to have a pretzel jar full of just the cut out email addresses from people applying to jobs. Oh, they're so bad. So, what should go in an email address? Maybe we should ask that question first.
If you can get your name, mine is my first and last name.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can get that, that's great. Some
Yep.
people first last name and some numbers, or first initial last name and some numbers.
Well, how's this? For numbers, please stop putting your date of birth in there.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no good reason for that because, again, all it can do is hurt you. That's not the age of the individual I was looking for this position. No. And aside from that, it just looks bad. My advice here always is, if you need a res or a an address, an email address for your resume, go to outlook.com because nobody else ever has.
Yeah.
Because everybody's got everybody on Gmail. Go
Mhm.
to Outlook, get your first name dot last name dot first name, first initial dot last name, some combination like that. That's all anybody's going to look for.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Gmail's taken.
Yeah, if
Guaranteed.
you weren't 20 years ago on board for that, you ain't getting them now.
It's the reason why I will never get rid of mine.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just $70 washer.
Yep. Yeah, same thing. And it's the easiest thing you can tell people, first name dot last name.
Yep.
And yep. What about social media?
Oh my gosh. Well, it better be appropriate if you're gonna put it on there.
That's the big one. So I don't want, you know, your weird, and I don't know what that means. Um, social media feed. You don't have to put your Instagram on there. You probably, unless you're going for an influencer position, in which case maybe you do want to put your Instagram account on there. But what you'll want to start to do, especially if you haven't already, is start to cultivate a personality for those industries online. So start a new Twitter handle, start a new Facebook page, start a new, LinkedIn account. Those are always great too. And then start to do or post about things that have to do with that industry. So I have Wolf Teach Tech, and that's exactly what it's about, is teaching in tech and me stuff. And that's the one I can just hand off to a potential future employer and go, here, this is what, my social would be about. That's something that they could look for. You certainly don't want to go crazy. This is a true story. I had a kid apply for a position with, he was going to help specifically for our early childhood education computing needs, and his Twitter handle was Wake and Bake. It is I couldn't testify anymore, but I swear it was Wake and Bake 420, and it was, yeah, it was all just pictures of them smoking pot at work. Yeah. And you know what? It was a he. Since I said that, I think 4 times already. They interviewed really well, had good skills and everything, but you could not get past the fact that Wake and Bake 420 was probably the persona you are going to adopt for that employee. So we found better candidates, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, probably.
How long should a resume be?
Oh, depends on your years of experience, I suppose. But
Yep.
really, one page is the best. But if you have, like Eric and I have,
Oh my
what,
God.
15, 20
Yeah.
years of experience.
It's
You only want to go back 10 years, though, really.
mm-hmm.
So one page, 1 page is enough, but 2 pages if you have a lot of experience and
Yep.
you're applying for a higher level job.
I think if your resume runs just over 1 page, cut it to 1 page. If your resume runs well over 1 page, make it 2. That that tends to work. That's not going to work for everybody. We've got people who are coming back after, most of a career in something else, and they're coming back to Rock Valley to recertify, change careers, whatever else. Like, you can't tell me, Jimmy Carter's resume is going to be 1 page, right? It's like, he was the president once, right? Yeah, but 1 page resume. It's like, he stamped out like terrible diseases in Africa, right? Yeah, still it's a 1 page resume. He's like literally putting millions of people in houses, right? I said 1 page resume. Uh, but if the resume or the recipient of the resume says it has to be 1 page, and again, if Jimmy Carter really wants to apply for that job, you better keep it to 1 page. So there you go. Those are our 3 big portions for resume writing. Number 1, gather all of your material. Number 2, start to put together the skills that you have, or start to tell a story about the skills that you have as they relate to the potential future employer. And number 3, get a template.
Mm-hmm.
You can find these and other tips for you either down below here in the comments or at our adjacent site, RVCCIS.org. We can't cram everything on .info. It just wouldn't make sense. You can also find a whole bunch of other material that we have been tweeting over the last week and a half or so. You can find all of that on our social. We are at Twitter and Facebook at RVCCIS.Info. You can also find us on anchor.fm at RVCCIS.Info. You can go ahead and hit the like button below if you're getting good content here. That helps with the search and helps us out. You can also leave us a comment while you're down there. Are there any resume writing tips we have glossed over, or any resume writing faux pas that you may have committed over time? Go ahead and leave us a comment there. Join us next time. We are going to talk about getting ready for your interview. If you're only preparing at the day of your interview, you are probably not preparing quite enough. So we're going to talk about getting prepped for your interview before we even talk about the interview, and that'll be Thursday that'll drop. In the meantime, for Stephanie Washer, Jim Conley, Chuck Conkle, not seen here, and myself, Eric Wolf, and the rest of the faculty, staff, and community at Rock Valley College, stay safe and stay sane out there, everybody.